Hey guys, my name is WJ Daggins, and I am the host of a new podcast. The title of the podcast is Upset Theology. I'm excited, a little bit nervous. This is my very first podcast. I've been making videos for years, and if you follow me already, I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys. But if you don't follow us just yet, make sure to follow us soon after this video. But I'm so excited to just bring this concept to you guys of what I call upset theology. There's reasons why I call it upset, which I'll explain. But the depth and the truth of what's behind my theory of creating this podcast is because I went to school for Christian apologetics back in 2015, and I've always been one to always not just learn about something, but I like to understand the ins and outs of something when I learn about it. Just a quick story about me. My trade, what I do for a living, is actually a mechanic. And when I first became a mechanic, I was breaking cars. I'm gonna tell you the truth. It's just like you learn a little something, and then you think that you can just do it all. So back in the day, I used to get these cars. For example's sake, say for instance you learn how to change oil, and then you say, oh, I'm a mechanic now. Or you saw somebody change brakes before, and you're like, oh, I could change brakes now. That doesn't mean you can go get customers and start saying, hey, I'm a licensed mechanic. So for me, I was the type of person that or I became the type of person that realized that in order to say you know something, you should know a good amount of it. And in some cases, you should know the full capacity. Just for example's sake, that's why we take tests at school. They want to see how much of the information have you retained, even if you didn't necessarily get hands-on experience, but how much information did you retain regarding the topic at hand, or for us to be able to say, hey, this person is now licensed and has been proven to have the knowledge regarding this topic, such as an eye doctor, a neurologist, or optometrist, or I don't even know the rest of all of the dentist, those types of things that people would expect the person that's operating to have like a full understanding. I don't want to just go in there and say, oh, I cleaned somebody's teeth before. No, can you actually pull this out without my face blowing up, So that's generally the concept behind upset theology, because I do have the understanding that, or I've seen a lot of times where people hear a little bit about God, or they're very enthusiastic or just excited to say, hey, I'm a Christian now, and then they try to go spread the word, but they don't necessarily do it correctly because they don't have a full understanding. I have this thing that I say, not to many people, but sometimes when I get into deep thoughts or theological conversation, I try to explain to people that there's a difference between misinformation and disinformation. One of them is intentional, incorrect, or they're offering information that's incorrect intentionally, on purpose, and then there's people that offer the wrong information not knowing that they're offering the wrong information. For example, you ask somebody for directions and they say, oh, go down to the McDonald's and make a left. That in their heart, they're trying to help you and they're doing their very best to give you the correct information. But truth be told, they really don't know. And I also have this term that I often say where it's their strength in coming to the understanding that to say that you don't know. Like for me, if somebody asks me how to dig to the center of the earth, I don't know. It's simple as that. There are certain things that's so extravagant that a person can't make it up. But unfortunately, regarding theology, there's a lot of times that people share theories their own theories or their opinion about certain things rather than things that they have researched. For example, there's times when people say these colloquial like these terms where they might say God wouldn't put much God wouldn't put more on you than you can bear. But when you ask them where does it say that in the Bible, they really can't back that up. And most times it's because that's something that they've heard so much in church or around church people, where it almost became scripture when in truth it was just a what do you call that thing? Like a man, it's like they call it an emotional pickup. It's just something to make you feel good. But is it backed by? And my whole heart regarding all of this is for people to have the full knowledge and to be willing to get the full understanding of theology. Now, a lot may not necessarily agree with some of the things we might discuss. Half of the time, I am going to intentionally leave certain things open for your interpretation, because I'm going to offer my interpretation, but I also have this statement of saying, if you can't be wrong, why are we having a conversation? So that also goes for me. But I do offer a lot of research, and my studies and the things that I'm going to offer to you are going to be backed by the Bible. So strictly, like, we're not going to go off of many theories. Obviously, I might share my thoughts regarding certain things based off of experiences, but in all honesty, or at the end of the day, we're always going to go back to the Bible verses. So, as I said, I want to also I'm just kind of laying out the foundation of the things that we're going to be talking about here over the next. However, I hope to have this thing going for years, which I'm expecting it to do so. I'm expecting to be able to grow and have hosts or have guests that will join us. But it is a big deal to just get going. And I've been feeling this in my spirit for at least like the last 6 months. So just to get this thing going is very exciting. I'm designing this podcast to be for people who desire it. It's not going to be something that's pushy. It's going to be something that's, presented. Just like when you go to Sam's Club or BJ's and you're walking, minding your business. It's like, hey, you want to try these croissants that we have, these butter honey croissants? So just, it's going to be presented for people to try and get more understanding. It's also going to be there for people who just desire to have a less formal, meaning like not necessarily church, but less formal place to be able to get like biblical understanding. And I'm pausing because back in the day before I went to college, I was just always hungry. I was always hungry for more understanding of God. I just felt like there was more than what I would see at certain churches. And I've just always been hungry. We're not going to bash church. We're not going to bash different churches. We will clarify the difference between certain religious understandings or different religions. But in all honesty, within one religion, there are still many different levels of understanding that you're going to have in that. So we're going to do our best. I'm very analytical in a sense. I'm also very organized. So when we start on a path of trying to get an understanding of or whatever topic we're going to go on, I'm going to do my best to kind of fully go through that topic without necessarily bouncing back and forth. So say for instance, I believe we're going to be talking about hope real soon. We're going to go deep into hope. I'm very excited about that one. We're going to go deep into hope, and we're going to like tackle many different aspects. It's almost like when you look at a circle, or not even a circle, when you look at a globe. Say for instance, you're in space. Many of us haven't. I'm sure you haven't been to space. But when you're in space and you're looking at Earth, you can only see one side. But at Upset Theology, it is going to be our intent to not necessarily just look at the portion of the Earth that we can see, but we're going to spin it around and get every aspect regarding. So say for instance, the Earth was hope. We're going to talk about many different sides of hope, or sin, or trust, or finances, or peace, understanding. Like these are the things that I'm naming are actually different episodes that we're going to be talking about, because it is really, to me, it's very crucial to address these things piece by piece. You know, in this language that we have, I'm not just speaking about English. I'm talking about the languages that we use. There's many different words that we use that we don't necessarily have a full understanding of, and it's almost like we are missing out on the full understanding, such as hope. You know, I'm trying not to talk about it because I want to leave it for another episode. But I have found that sometimes when you use the word hope, it's not rooted into something, because the word hope itself means that there's a foundation that you're hoping on. You might be hoping for something, but in hoping for that thing, who is the one that's going to supply that thing that you're hoping for? And at least for a Christian or people in religion, our hope is in something. But sometimes in people who may not have faith or who may not be Christian, when they say I hope so, that's just wishful thinking. So it is important that you understand what type of hope are you hoping, if you get that. And that's just hope. We haven't even touched on the other stuff, because I'll even touch on peace just real quick. You know, over the years I've been through a lot of things, and I have found out that there's levels to peace, and I've also realized that there are areas of peace that if your foundation of peace is rooted in the wrong thing, then your peace can be unstable, if you get what I'm saying. So, for example, if I'm dating somebody and they make me happy, then I can essentially say that that person brings me peace. But what if something happens with that person and that person lets me down? Then my peace will no longer be there, and in a sense it's unstable. So regarding peace, I have found out that my peace, I always put my peace in God, or I find my peace in God. Why? Because I've had experiences with God where situations have come about where I could have lost my peace. Like a storm is going on around me, but guess what? I didn't lose my peace because my peace is in God, and I'm using these loose terms for people who may not be Christian, just so you can get an understanding. But my peace is in God, who is my foundation. He is my foundation. Like, there's nothing in this world that can shake my foundation when it comes to God being my peace, because He has been my provider. He has been my healer. Like, for the things that I've been through, which I'll talk about one day, like, He has been that thing. So it's not like, a girlfriend that I have to wonder, what are they doing out in the street, or are you honoring me when I can't see you? God is and will be there for you as long as you seek after him. He's always there when you need him, even when you, in a sense, dishonor him sometimes, like a bad child, as we often are, or have been, or might have. Like, we might, and I'm just saying this in reality, I'm a father. There may come a day when my child might do something that is very, but the love of God that he has for us welcomes us back. And I'm also using that loosely. We'll get into understandings of that. But he is our foundation. He's one we can depend on. That's my whole thing regarding peace. Because when you have that foundation of, I can depend on him, he understands me, he accepts me how I am. Obviously, he has certain requirements as well. But this is the foundation of where my peace sits. This is also the foundation of where my hope sits. This is also the foundation of where I'm learning how to truly love people. Like this, he is my foundation. And through Upset Theology, I really hope just to lay this thing out to you guys for you to understand, because I don't think I'm talking slow because I don't want to offend some people. However, I'm going to speak my truth, or the truth, not my truth, but the truth. I just don't think that there's not always a full level. There's not always a full presentation of biblical understanding. And it's not necessarily anybody's fault. Most times when we go to churches or things like that, you're only there for an hour and a half. And then depending on who's teaching, they might be a rambler. They might not necessarily hit the mark that you want. Like, the person that's speaking or teaching might be teaching or speaking about a certain topic in a certain area. So I'm going to aim. That's why I said we're going to do the whole globe. I'm not just going to talk about South America or Asia. We're going to take our time to try as best as I can to spin the globe around and to just hit every aspect of that thing. One other thing that I want to speak on is something that I heard Pastor, what's his name? Tim Ross. He said some Christians' theology doesn't have a passport. And my understanding of that statement means that our Western or American way of understanding the Bible is limited. And I'll bring it to reality regarding like just us living today. So I could go outside right now and get in my car and drive to a store, and the store generally would be fully stocked with toilet paper, water, orange juice, candy, chips, toiletries, soap. You know, this is the thing that's normal for us. But in other places, even in America, that I can go 2 miles down the road and find that. There's other places in America where you might have to drive 30 miles to find that. But there's also other places in the world, first of all, where you won't be able to go outside and just get in the car. The ground may not be paved. You may not have cell phone signal. There may not be a grocery store. And if there is a store, they may not take debit or credit. You might not be able to charge your phone. So when he said some people's Christianity or their theology has no passport, it means that, interestingly, our Christianity in America is almost, I'm using this lightly, is almost a little bit like spoiled. Like we come into church and we can sit in AC. We don't have to worry about someone kicking the doors down because there's laws where we can't study the Bible. There are certain countries where you can't own a Bible. Like in America, we have the freedom to be able to own a Bible, to stand on the corner and to preach the gospel. So when he says that your theology doesn't have a passport, he's saying, hey, you might think you understand all of the things that are in the Bible, but you haven't really experienced all of the turmoil and the like the struggle of people having to hide. Like that's a different type of hunger when you're desiring something good that you feel in your heart that is going to be good for you, but you can't get it because the government is saying that you can't study it. Like that's a different type of hunger when you're seeking and desiring for good. That's a different type of hunger. Because interestingly, which we might end up talking about pornography and things that we're desiring that we shouldn't be desiring. Interestingly, like it's a good thing to desire a good thing. And it's a struggle to desire. I'm trying to rephrase this. Let's see. I'll just say it like this. It's a good thing to desire good things. It's a good thing to desire good things. So I applaud you guys for the ones who are going to subscribe and follow us. I'm so excited to just kind of lead you. I take it as an honor for you to willingly listen to me and trust me regarding this study. And I don't take this for granted, and I don't take this lightly. I've kind of been, I would consider the fact that I've been hidden for years. Back when I was in college, I heard God tell me that I was going to start an overwhelming ministry. And it was overwhelming because it's going to overwhelm me. And it's been since 2015, almost eight plus years, that I've just been kind of like growing and learning, just getting ready. And I believe now is the time. I'm so excited for what's to come. I can't even imagine what God's about to do, but I can see this is like the beginning of what God is going to do. And I'm not just excited about what he's going to do for me, but I'm excited for what he's going to do for you. Because what I've seen, it's like the thing that I value the most about this season in my life is the fact that I am glad that I have come into the understanding of who God really is. Like, it's almost like a marriage. I'll say it like that. You get married on day one. You might be excited and say, oh, I'm excited. It's newlyweds. And hey, she looked good with me. I look good with her. And, but when you get home, you get to know these new things. But just imagine, if you've ever been married over 10 years, you can probably attest to this. But if you haven't, you can imagine that if you guys were to grow closer together intentionally, it doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional about it. If you guys grow together, there's going to come a day where you will have peace and understanding, knowing that this relationship that you're in is secure and is sure, and that you don't have to worry about nothing. You don't have to, I can trust this, I can trust them, So this is what I'm excited about. I'm excited because I want to present these things to you that are going to help you grow. And I know it's going to help you grow because it's helped me grow. Like, there's plenty of times I teach Bible study every Sunday at my church, and I tell them every Sunday, I be wanting to slap people sometimes because, like, people will try you. But I'm very excited because the growth that has happened in me, like, I don't slap them. And I know this is like, what are you talking about? No, there's things that are going to happen. Like, for me, it's people trying me. For you, it might be something else. But I'm sure everybody gets trapped generally somewhere and somehow, some way. But it's so much peace, knowing the Word of God, and how the Bible is so relevant. I don't care what people tell you. Oh, the Bible's old. It doesn't apply to me. It's old school. I can tell you without a doubt that it is strictly applicable to every aspect of your life. And when I speak about people having a full understanding, if you only know one or two verses, then that's why it's not applicable to you. It can't apply to you if you don't know it. You're not aware of the things that are in the Bible. There are so many things and topics that are in the Bible that applies to your life. And I don't think I want to say that part, but like the Bible is full. There's so many stories and Psalms and Proverbs in the Bible that literally will speak to your heart. I mean, I'm talking about. I'll even say it like this. So there's a set of certain verses. Say for example, like today I might read it and it might speak to me. But in 3 years, I might read that same set of verses and it'll speak to me in a different way that I need at that moment. It's almost like I would even go as far as to say they call it revelation because it was always there, but now it's revealed. And I would imagine that it's revealed sometimes when you are ready for it. When you're ready for it. For some reason, I'm thinking of the way that Apple phones, you can send a message and it'll have these little dots, but you can only see it when you rub it. But I'm only thinking about that because the message is there, but it's only revealed when you're ready for it, when you actually wipe it. And the Bible has so much. It's so wealthy, it's so rich. Like the topic of peace and understanding is one that I really want to kind of get to you guys, because I'm seeing that there's a lot of people who don't have peace. And it is to me, in a sense, it's almost heartbreaking, because it's like you don't want people to hurt, you don't want people to have to cry themselves to sleep, or to wonder where the next meal is coming from, or to wonder, how am I going to pay this bill? Like, I can only imagine. I've been there. I can only imagine, especially when you don't have something that you expect to come through to pay for it. Say for instance, you don't have a job. So in 2 weeks, how are you expecting? Like, it's one thing to have a job and to say, okay, well, I know this bill is due and in 2 weeks I'll give it to you. But it's another type of turmoil when you got to pay this bill and you don't have the funds coming. But I can promise you that when you experience the peace of God and experience like the level of understanding that the Bible is going to give you, then there's going to be a different type of peace. Like the type of peace that I have right now, even though God has been providing for me, there has been a time where I didn't necessarily always get what I wanted, but that was the time when I was able to learn how to actually love and trust God, even if I didn't get those things. Like, say for instance, somebody takes my car, like a repo man. Like, at this point in my life, that car is just a thing. I have learned to trust God so much where that thing, I don't need it. And if I have it, good. And if the repo man takes it, God is still my God to me. He doesn't not become, he's not no longer my God because the repo man takes my car. That's how stable my faith is. When we was talking about being stable, like when you learn to lay a foundation, like a cement foundation for your home, when you learn how to lay it, and not just lay it, but lay it correctly, Like when you learn how to lay it, then there's gonna be nothing that can shake it. There's not gonna be anything that can shake it. I mean, I just really can't wait to see what God is gonna do through this podcast. Like I just want to be able to present to you guys. Like I want to present to you. I think they have that statement that says present to some and present. How does it go? Introduce to some and present to others. That's what I want to do with Upset Theology. And I think introduce to some is for those who are not aware, and present to others is for those who might be aware. But guess what? I'm going to show you a different way of looking at it. And hey, some of y'all might come to Christ at the same time. So I'm just excited. Let me read this definition of upset to you, because you might say, well, why are you calling it upset? So when most think of upset, they think about somebody being upset, like angry, or that's not what we're talking about. Some people might be upset when they hear, because you have people online that is going to challenge everything they hear and say, oh, I don't agree with that. That's not what the Bible says, blah, blah, blah. So they might be upset, but that's not why we called it upset theology. My definition of upset is to set it upright. So say, for instance, something fell over, you set it up. So I believe that some people's understanding of Christian theology is toppled over. I talked to somebody today, one of my customers, and they were speaking about something, and I said, I'm a pastor, and she said, I don't trust pastors. And I said, oh, okay, like I get it. Hey, when I walked away, I was like, well, I don't trust people. I don't trust certain people too. It doesn't have to be pastors. I'm sure you don't trust non-pastors. I'm sure you probably don't trust your cousin too. But in that statement that she said, I realized that something had to happen where her experience with Christianity or pastors or theology has been toppled. So for some, I'm going to attempt to set it up. And that's why I called it upset theology. The other definition of upset is to cause agitation and disruption. Now, when I went to college, there was one class. I think it was New Testament theory or something in that area. But the class, say for instance, the class was an hour and a half. When I went home, I got in the shower and I was balled up like a little baby, because through the teacher's teaching, it agitated and it disrupted my understanding of certain biblical things. And it is not my goal to confuse, but I would like to challenge certain understandings, because truth be told, we have all learned some things, and truth be told, a lot of times people have learned it wrong. Like I said, I'm a mechanic by trade, and I have customers that'll come in and say, hey, when you jump start the car, you do it this way. And I'm like, don't necessarily know where you learned that at, but that's not how you do it. So the same thing with theology. There's some things that people have learned wrong. There's some things that people have learned wrong. I learned things wrong, I'm sure. Like there's a certain way to do a lot of things, and I just would like to challenge in a way that's respectful, because you present and I present, and hey, you get an understanding. So one, like I said, one is to set up right, and the other is to disturb, to cause agitation, or to cause disruption. And truth, every disruption is not bad. Think about it. If somebody's in a fight and somebody's getting hurt or abused, or you could see someone going down a one-way street, but they're not going the right way, then a disruption is going to be good. Agitation. There's certain agitation that's good. I was talking or thinking about soil earlier. Usually, or I'll say it like this: when you're planting a seed, I'm not a farmer, but it's kind of basic to me in understanding. When you're about to plant a seed, if the ground has always been walked on and it's rained and it's like clay, hard clay, the ground could be good. But guess what? If the ground is hard and you drop the seed on top, the seed is going to be sitting on top of the ground. So there's agitation that you have to do. I can't remember the word, but you have to I think it's called toil, or it's like you break up the ground so that actually the seed can even go down there. Because there's sometimes when you plant a seed, sometimes you dig a hole and you put the seed in the hole. But there's sometimes where somebody just toils the ground and then the seed is thrown. So that is also the goal of Upset Theology, is to agitate the ground. Like, hey, after you get off this podcast, go do your research. We're going to have Bible verses and everything. It is never my intent to teach anything without a Bible verse backing it. And then also, learning a Bible verse is great, but you can't build a full biblical understanding off of one Bible verse. There's many times when I'm studying that I might find a verse that's in Acts 2, and then I have to also read John 14, and then I'll have to read 2 Timothy. And with all of those understandings, then I can understand, whatever particular topic I'm teaching on, which all three of those were Holy Spirit that I was teaching this last Sunday. But it's my main goal for you guys to get full understanding. I just don't want people to say, oh yeah, I went to church. Okay, well, what did they talk about? Oh no, but they had a good time. That's not good. Like, come on. You didn't learn nothing today? Like, come on. Like, we gonna do some work. Like, I'm not coming here to play. I'm not setting up this whole thing so we could say, oh, we talked about people. We ain't talking about, that's one set of things we're not going to do. We're not going to talk about people. We're not going to talk about church. We're not going to talk about what people do wrong. This is not a bashing podcast. I may likely never mention a preacher unless I'm talking about something good that they said that I can use. Just like I said with Tim Ross. We're not going to bash nobody. I will, in certain cases, probably, like I said, in order to set something up right, I might have to speak about a certain level of teaching that I don't necessarily think was correct. And I will be upfront and I will be confronting. I will be disruptive when it comes to that, because I don't want to see you driving down a one-way street and you're going the wrong way. That's just it. Like, this is the whole intent of the pod, because I see it too often. There's sometimes I sit and I just listen and I'm like, oh, I wonder how many people are listening to this. So what we're not going to do, we're not going to be talking about other people. We're not going to be talking about pastors and things like that. We're going to be just, talking about, things that apply to our current understanding, and just kind of readjusting in some cases. It's nothing wrong with looking in the mirror sometimes and say, hey, is this right? Because there's many times there's things that's wrong. That's why in the beginning of this pod, I said, are you okay with being wrong? I'm okay with being wrong sometimes. If I'm wrong, you have to be able to say, hey, I was wrong about that. Excuse me, even regarding just saying I'm sorry. In order to say I'm sorry, you have to at least come to the point of saying, maybe I didn't do something right. I was wrong about that. And regarding understanding, you can't think generally and logically, you can't assume that all you know is correct. Meaning 100% of 100% of what you know is 100% correct. Hopefully y'all got the understanding of that. Meaning all you know is completely solid. Not all the time. You could say I was wrong. Come on, repeat after me. Say I might be wrong. You could say I might be. You might not say it, but I have no problem in saying that. I believe there's strength in saying I don't know, because in order to say I don't know gives you room to actually get to know. Y'all heard? Hey, that's a tweet right there. Might not be tweet no more. I think Elon Musk is changing the name of Twitter or whatever. But yeah, that's a side note. But think about it. When you say I don't know, you're giving yourself space to actually get to know. So be okay with saying I don't know. Be okay with saying I'm not sure, because you can become sure when you admit to the fact that you don't know. Okay? So I'm just ready. I'm ready to roll. I just wanted to lay out a full understanding of what Upset Theology is going to be all about, so you don't necessarily have to have questions during episodes to say, well, what are we really doing here? If people have questions about what Upset Theology is all about and what we're doing, send them back to this pod, okay? Send them back to episode 1 of season 1 of Upset Theology. Until episode 2, you guys be great, and follow us everywhere. Follow us on upsettheology.com, on Instagram, on Facebook, where we're gonna have places where you can ask questions after the episode. You can send us DMs, any particular things or certain topics you might want us to talk about. Or if we missed an area of that globe and you say, well, what about hope in this area? Or what about faith in this area? And then maybe we can, swing back, because it's nothing. We all we have is time. I don't plan to stop doing this for a couple of years. I mean, until God tells me to do otherwise. But I have big vision for our own studio, new cameras, guests and workers and helpers. So we ain't going nowhere. So y'all just stay tuned and be ready. So I got to come up with a name for you guys who are going to be in our community. But right now we're a community. I was going to say a community of upset people. But guess what? We're upsetting things. So until then, see you guys at the next episode. Be great.